Good morning and welcome to the Frank Partnership podcast on Monday, the 20th of February. So, let me give you a quick heads up on what we're going to be covering this morning. This is a 10-minute podcast, your weekly injection of energy, injection of creativity and motivation on a Monday morning to get you rocking and rolling and hitting the week in the manner in which you want to continue it. So this morning we are going to be covering what I'm listening to and reading at the moment. We've got some fantastic books coming out at the moment, so I'm going to give you two that actually are often I'll read something completely different to what I'll be listening to on audio. I generally will listen to about 3 books a month, and I'll read actually in hard copy or on a Kindle 1 book a month. And normally I'll listen and read to completely different books. But at the moment I've got two that are they go to work together really, really well. So I'm going to recommend those two to you and tell you a little bit about them so that you can decide whether it's worth you investing your time in reading them. I'm going to tell you a bit about a piece of software that we're trialling at the moment as a group. Quite an effective piece of software, so I'll give you a heads up on what that is, and you can decide whether you want to be using it. And also, I'm going to share some information. We've done our weekly webinar with the Frank Partnership partners and members this morning, and we did a poll on every single person this morning, and I'll give you the results of that poll. Very interesting in terms of how much of their working week our partners are investing in their own education. And then I will finish with a one example of a deal that we critiqued this morning on our deal surgery. So we have 10 minutes. I will get rocking and rolling. Okay, so what am I listening to? What am I reading at the moment? Well, let me show you these two books. Okay, so we have the book that I'm actually reading at the moment is this one here. It's Black Box Thinking by Matthew, I think it's Syed. His first book, Bounce, was absolutely fantastic, brilliant book. And this one is all about how, in order to make progress, it's really, really important to take action. First is to take action, and secondly, to anticipate failure. So it's unrealistic to expect ourselves to take loads of action and for every single thing we do to work out just as we planned it to be successful. So the basic premise of this book is that if you take massive action, which is critical, expect a proportion of that to be a failure, but don't be downhearted by that, don't be disheartened, build on those failures. So the famous quote is Thomas Edison, isn't it? How do you feel having failed 13,000 times to make the light bulb? And what he said was, well, I've just found 13,000 ways of a light bulb not working. That means that I'm 13,000 times steps closer to finding the solution that does work. And it basically builds on that premise. It looks at aviation, it looks at medical, learning from mistakes, and some really interesting examples. His research is second to none. So that's the book that I'm reading at the moment. The book that I'm listening to at the moment is this one here, which is the obstacle is the way. And if I'm honest, it was given to me as a Christmas present. I wasn't quite sure about it. It's got a lot of historical references in it. I've never heard of the author before, but I have to admit, excellent book, really, really good. Talks a lot about Roman emperors. Never really read much about Marcus Aurelius before, but it ties in so well with black box thinking, because what it basically says is when we hit an obstacle, that doesn't have to be a negative. We should be anticipating them, and we should enjoy that temporary misfortune, that temporary hardship or disappointment, because what it does is it forces us to think more creatively. It forces us to think around the problem or under it or over it, and that is where the breakthroughs occur. And it has example after example after example of breakthroughs in history that, I'll be honest, I had no idea came from failures that wouldn't have happened otherwise. So there were incremental increases, and then they hit an obstacle, and by solving that obstacle, there was then a huge leap forwards in that particular area. So a massive gain, a massive success as a result of the obstacle. So 2 books that I can thoroughly recommend, especially if you want to listen and read them at the same time. I generally will listen when driving. I will listen to audiobooks when exercising, and sometimes when doing chores around the house. I'll put it on a Bluetooth speaker and listen. Whereas I will generally read when I've arrived at an appointment. I'll have my book and I'll read for the 5 or 10 minutes that I'm there early. Or sometimes I will read of an evening to relax. So those 2 are really interesting books. I wanted to share this quote with you. This quote I thought tied in really well, and it's all about the fact that if we are fearful, that is the biggest obstacle to us achieving our definition of success, achieving our dreams, as opposed to failure being what will stop us achieving our dreams. So those 3 tie in particularly well. Okay, so I promised that we would move on to a piece of software that I'm using. Now, this piece of software, let me share it with you. I've actually got it here to show you. It's called Streaks. It's available on the iPhone store. It's available on Android. And what I like about it is, and those of you that are familiar with the Frank Partnership know that I'm really big into habits, healthy habits that you build upon in order to structure your day, structure your week, structure your month and year, in order to achieve your definition of success. And what it basically is, this is the home page of the app. You can change the colour, and that it comes in default as orange. And what you do is you pick the different areas, up to 6 of them. So I've got 4 there that you want to build healthy habits in. So the ones that I've got on here are exercise. So some of you know I'm training for an Ironman at the moment. So I need to make sure that I'm hitting my 10 hours a week of exercise, which is basically 1 or 2 sessions every day. So you could say, yes, I've done my session today. I've worked out. Eating a clean diet. I'm way above my racing weight at the moment. So in order to get down to that weight, I need to be eating healthily. So after breakfast, lunch and dinner, it pops up with, have you eaten healthily? And you click in, yes, I have. And that shows over time. So I've got reading my Bible and following my planned schedule of sleep. Each time you achieve one of those or don't achieve it, you plug it in. It's really simple interface. And what it does is it maps your habit formation over time. And that can be a very powerful way of designing your lifestyle to maximize success, maximize happiness, maximize productivity. So that's a piece of software that we're using at the moment. I will introduce you to a new piece next week that I've found useful in my life. But if that appeals to you, if tracking your habit formation, your helpful habit formation appeals to you, then fantastic. Okay, I promise you a poll from the partnership. The poll that we did this morning across all of the partners and all of the members in the Frank Partnership was, have you invested a minimum of 2 hours in your education, so either going on a seminar, reading a book, or listening to an audio in the last week? And 73% of participants on the webinar this morning had invested at least 2 hours in their own education, which is phenomenal. That is massive. If you are struggling for a book to read or an audio to listen to, if you don't read, in inverted commas, I'm not a reader, then I would encourage you to go to the Frank Partnership website, www.frankpartnership.co.uk, and right there on the homepage is our reading list. If you click on the link to the educational concepts, you will see that we've got loads of educational concepts that you can just dip in and out of. You can listen to those, you can watch them, and pick yourself an audio book that you can then download and learn from in order to move yourself forward. Brad Sugars, the founder of Action Coach, says to us that you can't out-earn your learning, and I think that's absolutely true. You get the team you deserve, you get the business you deserve. In the property arena, you get the deals you deserve, and in order to be more deserving, you need to grow as an individual. So I can't emphasise that enough, and I was delighted that 73% of the partnership are investing in their own education. If you have not spent at least 2 hours developing yourself in the last week, then I would encourage you to do so in the week that's coming ahead. Okay, finally, in the last minute or two, I want to share a deal. So Amanda shared this deal with us this morning. She has a vendor who is looking to sell their property, and they have 1 year left on their mortgage term. They're in arrears. They're in arrears by a couple of tens of thousands of pounds, so quite serious in arrears, and are going to be made redundant. They're going to be repossessed. Having been made redundant. That was the trigger. They've struggled to keep up with their mortgage payments. The interesting thing about this property is it's worth about 380, and the mortgage outstanding balance and arrears combined is 350, and that doesn't really work as a deal, certainly not in the part of the country that Amanda works in. So the thing that we found out about this deal is that there's a plot of land that's also on the same title. So you've got the house, you've got the garden, and then you've got a plot of land on the side of it. And it's the plot of land that makes this deal possible. It's had an offer on it. It's had an offer way high that we don't believe is actually possible. If it were possible, the deal would work and Amanda would do it. But what we've agreed today is that Amanda's going to go away, and she's going to work out that if she was the developer, what would she pay for the land, what would the build cost her, and then what would the GDV, gross development value, of that build be? And then she's going to work backwards through it and go, so how much profit would the developer make? How likely is it that the houses will sell on that plot for that amount of money, and how much could the developer then have paid for the land? And once we've worked that out backwards, we're then left with a figure that we know we can sell the land for reliably, swiftly. If that, combined with the value of the house, is sufficiently higher than the outstanding balance on the mortgage, we know we've got a deal. If it isn't, then we haven't wasted more than probably 30 minutes working out the numbers, and we can move that to one side and crack on with the next deal. So just a little insight into how to work out development potential of plots, and how our partners are doing that on a daily and weekly basis. Okay, that's our 10-minute podcast for the week. Have a great Monday. Have a fantastic week, and I'll see you again next Monday morning. Take care. God bless.